Taye was a considerate boy, quiet, with a heart that leaned evidently toward God. He lived in the village of Abaso, an area wherein the air smelled of wealthy earth, roasted yams, and the candy fragrance of mango bushes. The rhythm of village existence moved slowly, punctuated by way of the crowing of roosters at sunrise, the chatter of children going for walks barefoot via the dusty paths, and the deep, low hum of elders telling testimonies under the old baobab tree. Every nighttime, because the solar dipped at the back of the remote hills, and the sky blushed in gold and purple, Taye knelt with the aid of his small timber mattress, his fingers clasped tightly, eyes closed, whispering prayers into the silence. His prayers have been for easy things: steering for his studies, braveness to stand the challenges of youth, safety for his circle of relatives, and small private needs, just like the courage to talk to women he sought after. These moments have been sacred, his own connection to the divine that crammed him with desire and peace. One nighttime, as the nighttime wrapped the village in its quiet, Kofi, Taye's father, entered the room abruptly, his shadow reducing throughout the dim candlelight. "Son, hurry up," he barked. The sharpness of his voice startled Taye, and he hastily wiped his fingers together and stood. Kofi's eyes, darkish and intense, swept over him, measuring and annoying. Taye felt the load of his father's presence urgent down on him more than any reprimand. He nodded silently, wishing the quiet of his prayers may want to stay untouched. The subsequent Sunday, the circle of relatives accrued below the huge veranda of Amma's house, where laughter mingled with the odor of freshly cooked jollof rice, roasted plantains, and highly spiced stews. Kofi, ever proud, couldn't resist showing off his son. He laughed loudly, elevating his voice above the chatter. "You need to see my boy praying every night. He asks God to assist him speak to women." The laughter that followed made Taye's cheeks burn pink. The warm temperature and familiarity of the circle of relatives accumulating became heavy, uncomfortable. He desired to vanish, to retreat to the quiet sanctuary of his prayers. The sacredness he felt in his non-public moments had been turned into amusement for others. Although the laughter turned into light-hearted, Taye's heart sank underneath the load of embarrassment and shame. Weeks handed, and the scene repeated itself each Sunday. Kofi, brimming with pleasure, mentioned Taye's non-public prayers to each person who might concentrate. "My son prays for the whole lot," he boasted one Sunday at the network center, "even requested God to make him taller." The laughter that erupted from the group that day felt sharper, extra mocking. Taye could not bear it. Tears stung his eyes as he fled the corridor, the daylight blinding him as he ran outside. The fields, the dusty paths, the acquainted village sounds, all felt remote, harsh, and cruel. For the first time, he felt betrayed through the very individual he relied on most, his father. In the following days, Taye stopped praying aloud whilst Kofi changed into round. His nightly prayers persisted, however best, whilst his mother, Amma, changed into close to. She had always been patient and knowledge, by no means turning his hopes into stories for others. She listened quietly, offering gentle steering and quiet smiles. "Why won't you pray with me anymore, Taye?" Kofi asked one night, noticing the trade in his son's demeanor. "Due to the fact you tell all of us my private talks with God," Taye spoke back softly, voice trembling. Kofi's face darkened. "I am your father. You must percentage everything with me," he roared. "That's nonsense." Without caution, he grabbed Taye's small worn Bible from the table. "No greater studying this till you appreciate me." Amma stepped among them, her eyes unwavering in company. "Provide that back right now. Stay out of this," she commanded. "You broke his agree with," Kofi shouted. Amma seemed him squarely within the eyes. "You made his sacred prayers into jokes. He cannot believe you because you do now not respect his relationship with God." Kofi froze. The sight of his son, shoulders hunched, tears streaming down his cheeks, struck him like a spear. For the first time, he understood the weight of his actions. His son's sacred space, his personal conversations with God, were violated. The laughter, the boasting, the informal push aside for the sanctity of prayer, it changed into all wrong. "Son, "I'm sorry," Kofi stated, voice trembling. "Your prayers must live between you and God. I did now not admire that. I see it now." Taye slowly reached out and took his father's hand. "It's okay, Dad. God forgives, so do I," he whispered. In that moment, the warmth among father and son bridged the space that had grown over weeks of misunderstanding and satisfaction. From that day, Kofi changed. He learned to concentrate without judgment, to honor the personal areas of his son's coronary heart. Taye continued to pray, once in a while aloud, sometimes silently, however continually with the understanding that his sacred moments have been his own. And inside the quiet that observed, a new bond grew among father and son, a bond constructed on respect, belief, and shared love for God. Life in Abaso back to its gentle rhythm. The youngsters performed below the mango trees, their laughter mingling with the distant calls of market vendors. Elders advised memories below the baobab tree, and the air carried the wealthy aroma of neighborhood spices and freshly baked bread. Taye's family shared meals with laughter that changed into mild, warming, and unburdened by ridicule. Taye learned that faith was not for display or pride, but a personal journey, a verbal exchange among the soul and the divine. Kofi learned that electricity as a father became no longer in boasting or manage, but in shielding the sacred hearts of these he cherished. Amma, ever patient and clever, watched the transformation quietly, smiling because the own family healed and grew nearer. As time handed, Kofi would on occasion take a seat silently even as Taye prayed, now not with judgment, ridicule, or impatience, but with quiet, reverent recognize. The village too began to word the alternate. Kofi, once loud and arrogant, had softened. The pride that after led him to humiliate his son now guided him to assist him. One evening, because the sun sank at the back of the hills and the crickets began their nighttime refrain, Taye knelt inside the warm glow of firelight, whispering prayers. Kofi sat close by, quietly proud, and Amma hummed a gentle tune whilst mending clothes. The family became peaceful, the bond among father and son, mother and toddler, and God, unshaken and sturdy. Taye's prayers grew richer and greater heartfelt, extending past his very own wants to the welfare of the village, his buddies, and the earth around him. He prayed for the rains to return on time, for the sick to discover recuperation, for the elders to remain strong and wise. The boy had found out that prayer became not a tool for non-public advantage or enjoyment, however a sacred dialogue, a vessel for compassion, humility, and love. Kofi, too, commenced to apprehend the meaning of proper faith. He found out that guiding his son meant shielding his sacred area, no longer the use of it for satisfaction or enjoyment. He learned that the training of fatherhood had been no longer taught through loud words or public praise, however, through patience, admire, and information. Amma watched quietly, her coronary heart full, understanding that her own family had grown more potent. She had seen the power of forgiveness, the significance of privacy, and the depth of religion when it's far nurtured with love instead of ridicule. Months changed into years. Taye matured into a younger guy of character, humility, and energy. His bond along with his parents grew deeper, rooted in recognize, consider, and shared faith. And inside the village of Abaso, the story of Taye and Kofi have become a quiet lesson for all. The sacredness of prayer, the importance of respecting private faith, and the transformative strength of expertise and forgiveness. The ethical of the tale was clean. Actual religion grows stronger, whilst it is respected and guarded. Sacred moments, prayers, and personal conversations with God aren't to be shared for amusement or delight. Consider, information and love are the principles of a sturdy circle of relatives, and in respecting those, one cultivates concord, compassion, and charm. In the heart of Abaso, in which the sun painted the skies every morning, and the wind carried the songs of the earth, Taye, Kofi, and Amma lived in quiet peace. A family united now, not by show or words, however by using recognize, accept as true with, and love for each other and for God.